Hey, what's up guys? John here. I believe there's a plan to eliminate single-family home zoning nationwide. Many cities are already pushing forward on this. Cambridge, Massachusetts, home to Harvard, they're doing the same exact thing.
The city here is considering doing away with single-family only areas. This is all to clear more way for multi-unit housing there in Cambridge again.
In fact, this video is going viral on X right now. You have over 670,000 views. And look at what is happening here. I'm going to connect the dots and show you on the whitehouse.gov, on CNN, on all these mainstream websites, how this is all going to work for all of us. Because 70% of American household wealth is tied directly to their primary home. So when we change single-family zoning, naturally, that wealth is going to change as well. Look at this, for example. Look at this.
It's official. It's over. The American dream is gone.
Now, it's a pretty dramatic, opener saying that the American dream is gone, but look at this.
Cambridge is about to pass a new zoning law. No more single-family homes can be created. Single-family zoning is gone. Their entire city will...
Well, that's not entirely true. Single-family zoning is not completely gone. You don't need a variance to get a single-family, zoning permit to be able to build. But what they're doing is they're changing the incentives of all home builders to only build apartment complexes and large-scale rental communities. And this build-to-rent model is going to continue to grow, and with it, the way in which all of us look at housing. I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to give you the facts and show you exactly why you're going to see very little single-family homes being built in the very near future in most cities all throughout America. Please hit the like button. Hit the like button. YouTube will share this content and just give more people know what's going on in America's housing market. And if you'd like to fix your credit, we would love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow, for Tuesday. Take a look at this. So this is shocking. Cambridge considers plan to abolish single-family only zoning. It came out just a couple days ago. Looking to combat the housing crisis, lawmakers in Cambridge are considering a plan to remove zoning requirements that only low occupancy homes can be built in certain areas. And they say that this could even go, to 20-story buildings. I mean, look at this. This is pretty crazy because April 25th, 2 weeks ago, a judge said, you know what? It's a controversial housing law that abolished single-family zoning across California. They ruled it unconstitutional. However, this battle is ongoing. And I believe that if you look at the state of California, the direction that California is going in, we are going to see these types of laws happen. I mean, just look at landlord-tenant law. Look at a lot of the policies that have been enacted in California over the last 5 years. You can see the direction of where this is going. It's one of the leading states with inequality, inequity, all these movements in America. And so why would they not move in this direction? Look at this. They say that in late 2010 and early 2020s, multiple states, including California and Oregon, as well as cities like Minneapolis, Charlottesville, Virginia, have signed bills making proposals or started investigations to effectively eliminate single-family zoning. Now, what I believe is going to happen is I believe this is going to go way above state levels. I believe this is going to be a national movement because you've heard of them discuss national rent control, moving with a national eviction moratorium, national protections. Look, it's right on the whitehouse.gov. I mean, this is very fascinating. Before I even dive into that, though, they say the invisible laws that led to America's housing crisis. And in the 1910s, U.S. cities began enacting policies that would shape neighborhoods and unintentionally lay the roots for severe housing shortages today, single-family zoning laws. Zoning laws, at their most basic, follow a simple concept. In one part of town, only factories can be built. In another section of town, only apartment buildings can be built. And in a different part of the city, only single-family houses can be built. Now, they're saying that single-family zoning laws are unknown to most Americans, but they were instruments to the expansion of urban areas and the suburban ideal of owning a home with a front porch, a backyard on a half-acre plot of land post-World War II. Now, this is whitehouse.gov. I'm going to pull this down. You can see the URL. And what they say here is they say local land use laws and zoning regulations limit where and how densely housing can be built. This constrains housing supply, perpetuates historical patterns on segregation, prevents workers from accessing jobs, and increases energy costs and climate risk. Today, the Biden-Harris administration is announcing new actions to fund jurisdictions committed to removing barriers that restrict housing production and preservation, including by. And then they talk about, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, reducing restrictions, regulations. This is all what's happening. And they are, moving on a federal scale. Of course, it's the President of the United States. They're working on a federal scale to remove these zoning barriers, right? Launches first of its kind program to address land use and zoning barriers that limit housing. This is what is going on in America. So this video is partly true, but there's also a lot of falsities to it. This story is a lot bigger than what people realize. This is going to be a federal movement. We're going to see these really nice single-family homes, these single-family communities, these residential neighborhoods with these multi-million-dollar properties that people probably work their entire lives to own, and you're going to see builders being more incentivized to building 20, 30 unit affordable housing projects. Because now with interest rates where they are, a lot of buyers can't afford to buy. And a lot of builders, it doesn't make sense to build for sale. Here's what I mean. Let's say, it costs $295,000 on average to build a property in Florida. Right? This is a basic property. And then the figure can add up to $445,000 if you include land. Of course, you're going to need to include land. Where are you going to build it? You need permits and other fees. They're saying $445,000. Now, with interest rates where they are right now, if you're somebody with good credit, not like a 600 credit score, 780, somewhere in that range, maybe you're going to get 7.5% as a interest rate. If you put 6% down, which is the average down payment on a first-time home in America, and the average, this is the builder would make, for example, just for context, 680 to 699, about 8%, and then great credit 7.2, so in the range of like 7.5%. The builder would be selling this property at basically for costs, right? $445. If they were to sell the property at $500,000 and they pay agent fees, carrying costs, so forth, they're basically not making anything. They would need to base in that they're going to find a buyer that's going to be able to afford $4,100 a month. $4,100 a month. How many home builders are out there thinking, I'm going to find a home buyer for $4,100 a month for a monthly payment? Now, if the mortgage rate is 3%, people can, afford that. Many people can, right? And so what's happening now is interest rates are pushing builders to be more creative. And these new laws that are being worked on right now are going to incentivize this creativity to find a higher and better use for this land. And so the more you start looking into this, the more it all makes sense. For example, Cambridge, this initial video, rents in Cambridge, $3,600 is the average rent, right? So let's say, for example, you are building a fourplex. And the fourplex is, they say the price per square foot is $270. Some are saying $135 to $220. We'll say $250. Even number. Let's say each unit is 800 feet. Maybe they're 2-bedroom units, right? 800 times 4 is 3,200, right? 3,200 times $250 a foot. You're looking at 800 grand for build out costs. Plus the cost of land, maybe they're in for 1.1 million, right? Maybe 1.1, maybe a little bit more, but in that range, 1.1 million. 3,600 times 4. You're looking at about 14 grand, right? 35 times 4, you're looking at 14,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue, right? If you were to finance the entire project on a $1.1 million cost basis, so basically there's no equity at all in the deal, everything is a loan, at an 8% interest rate, which is higher than the average rate, you're looking at, and on a fourplex, you can generally get 30-year fixed rate debt, you're looking at about $9,900, right? So you start to look at this is an attractive deal for a builder. This is an attractive deal for an investor, especially if they can hop into some of these really, really nice neighborhoods like this. Look at Cambridge, 13.5 mil, 2.4, 4.25, 1.9, 2,850,000. What is this going to do to the neighborhood values? Well, how are neighborhood values determined? Well, according to Fannie Mae, and I'm going to take the words directly from them, that the neighborhoods are heavily factored based on the pertinent data, visual inspection of the neighborhood, and its physical characteristics, identify land use and signs. So when you change land use, Of course, that's going to change value. They also go on to say that it greatly impacts the appraiser should provide an outline of the neighborhood boundaries, which should be clearly delineated using north, south, east, west. These boundaries may include, but are not limited to streets, right? So they talk about how the neighborhood, these boundaries, but then they also talk about neighborhood characteristics, the factor that affects the value and marketability of properties in the neighborhood. And this is all going to affect values nationwide. And that's why if you look at Palo Alto, a lot of these really, really wealthy communities, a lot of these tech billionaires are saying, not in my backyard, not here, we don't want it. And why is that? Well, because when you have a neighborhood, and let's say the median income is $500,000, and then you bring in 200, 300, 500 affordable housing units, where people in the affordable housing units are making $40,000, $50,000 a year. What does that do? It drives down the cost to enter that neighborhood, thus impacting the property values, thus stripping equity from these homeowners that live in these communities. When you have 70% of Americans having their equity tied into their single-family home, well, a lot of that equity is going to get seized through a lot of these changes that are now happening. So when you hear this, them saying this legislation won't ban developments of new single-family homes, but will drastically shift the focus from people owning homes to a booming focus on development of rental communities. This is 100% what's going to happen. We are going to see so many rental properties popping up everywhere. And when you have a boom, like what we just saw in multifamily real estate all throughout America, where everyone wanted to buy apartment buildings, everyone wanted to invest in real estate, become a landlord because rents are going 20, 30% a year, everyone thought it was never going to end. When you have all these homes that are being built for rent, and you have all these Americans right now where their jobs are being questioned. A lot of these people are going to rent out their homes. You're going to just start seeing so many people putting their homes up for rent, meaning rents are going to continue to soften. The cost to borrow capital is going up. Insurance and taxes are going up. And it's going to be a game of survival of the fittest for landlords and a really big overall shift in America's housing market. What do you think about this entire situation? Let's have a conversation below. And if you'd like to fix your credit to position yourself what I believe is going to be a massive wealth transfer, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any negative item on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. Click the link in the description just below this video. Schedule a free call for tomorrow, for Tuesday. Catch you next video.